What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? I'm Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, today's video, we're going to be talking about the DC Comics character, Bloodwynd. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this character in order to hold an intelligent conversation about him, and more right now. But first, if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, hit that subscribe button. I post multiple videos throughout the week, plus live stream the Blerd Cave every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. So hit that bell button, that way you don't miss anything. Also, if you enjoy the video, Hulk smash that like button. Now with that out of the way, let's ponder the question, who is Bloodwynd?
You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Bloodwynd, real name unknown, first appeared in Justice League America number 76 in 1993 and was created by Dan Jurgens. Bloodwynd is a descendant of African slaves who rebelled against their slave master, having performed an ancient African ritual to create a magic stone known as the Blood Gem. This weapon was used to kill their slave owner and would be passed down from generation to generation, eventually finding its way to Bloodwynd. The Blood Gem grants its wielder great power and other magical capabilities, namely superhuman strength and durability, allowing Bloodwynd to match even the likes of Superman on a pure energy output level, if the villain Starbreaker is to be believed. Speaking of Superman, Bloodwynd was one of the members of the Justice League who was present when Superman was killed by Doomsday, and Bloodwynd was actually the one who was on the scene to pronounce him dead, scanning him using his magic and mystical abilities. The gem also grants him the ability to turn invisible to the naked eye. He can also teleport, fly, and unleash optic energy blasts. It also grants him a measure of telepathy and the ability to create illusions. He can also use what is called post-cognition, the ability to know things about the past without ever having experienced them for yourself or learning them by normal means like reading a history book or a newspaper. This is how Bloodwynd knows so much about the past and the history of the Blood Gem, despite not being alive when it was created. The gem does grant some access to magical energies, but the full range and capabilities of the gem's magic have never been explored. He's displayed multiple different magical effects with no rhyme or reason behind them, namely effects like commanding guns and other weapons to melt in his opponent's hands, and he's often been able to detect magic and the source of the magic near him simply by focusing. What we do know is that the Blood Gem is connected to the realm of the dead and is the source of its magical and mystical energies, and that the gem itself isn't without its consequences. Whoever wears the Blood Gem can be corrupted by its dark energies, and they will passively feed the gem with the darkness in their own heart. That said, even without the gem, Bloodwynd is capable of many necromantic feats, able to summon ghosts and other dead spirits, as well as siphon them to fuel his own energy. He can even sense the aura of death and discern if someone was killed in an area where he is standing. He's also proven able to enact what is essentially a penance stare similar to Marvel's Ghost Rider, allowing him to force a person to relive the pain and suffering they've inflicted upon others. Bloodwynd's Blood Gem is his main source of power, but even he didn't know everything that the gem was capable of at first. Neither he or his ancestors knew that the gem contained a pocket dimension within itself, and inside this realm is where Bloodwynd's slave ancestors had unwittingly trapped their slave master, Jacob Whitney. Trapped inside the Blood Gem for roughly 160 years, his spirit transformed into a demon known as Rot, feasting off of the darker impulses of each person who wore the Blood Gem since he died, Bloodwynd included. Eventually, he would become powerful enough to turn the tables on Bloodwynd and trapped him inside the gem instead, freeing Rot to take over Martian Manhunter's mind, a powerful feat in and of itself, considering that Martian Manhunter is a powerful psychic, and he forced him to assume the identity of Bloodwynd, to infiltrate the Justice League to find a way to free himself from the Blood Gem permanently. Rot would eventually be found out when the Ray and the Atom would enter the Blood Gem, and the true Bloodwynd would would be revealed, and with their combined efforts would defeat Rot and escape the Blood Gem. Now that I've told you this little bit of information, I actually want to take a moment to clarify something that I said at the beginning of this video. I said that Bloodwind's first appearance was in Justice League America number 76, and that is technically true, and it's also technically not true. Because of this little incident, we've actually seen Bloodwynd the character much earlier as of Justice League America number 61. However, this version is not the real Bloodwynd. So even though technically this is the first time we're seeing the character, we don't actually get introduced to the actual character Bloodwynd until the first appearance I mentioned earlier, which is Justice League America number 76. Bloodwynd has served as an active member of the Justice League of America for quite some time, though he was largely absent after the New 52 began and has yet to resurface in the DC Comics universe in any meaningful way since. Aside from the Justice League, he's also been a member of the Sentinels of Magic. Bloodwynd, for being a superhero, has always had some tendency towards being morally gray. While he doesn't necessarily believe in killing his enemies, he has sometimes considered alliances with them, despite knowing that they are evil. Like in the case of the Dream Slayer. Despite knowing the Dream Slayer was an evil entity, they promised him great and unimaginable power in return for helping him escape the realm of the dead. Bloodwynd refused, but his answer was hesitant and seemed as if he'd considered helping him. Truth be told, Bloodwynd never fully trusted the Justice League and was unsure whether he should even be a part of the team in the first place. But ultimately, he didn't trust the Dream Slayer either. So rather than fight against him alongside the League when Dream Slayer returned, Bloodwynd chose to sit out the fight entirely, instead preferring to choose neither side. This was a source of tension between Bloodwynd and his teammates, especially Blue Beetle and Captain Atom, who felt they could not trust him, especially when they learned that Dream Slayer had offered Bloodwynd an alliance and Bloodwynd never told them about it. They would only find out when Dream Slayer revealed it himself. If that weren't enough, when the League had to face off with the Overmaster, Bloodwynd sat out the entire attack. He felt that it was debatable whether or not Overmaster was a force of evil to be battled or a force of nature to be embraced, and that the attack should play out uninterrupted. This put him at even further odds with the Justice League and would lead to him stepping away as an active member of the team and putting himself on reserve duty only. Though truth be told, this was likely a formality and he truly intended to never return at all. Bloodwynd has never appeared in any media outside of comics, but was mentioned in the animated film Batman and Harley Quinn. Now, normally when I do these videos, I like to pick an actor who I think could play this character in a live action movie or television series, and for this one, I'm gonna pick actor Abubakar Salim, who some of you may know from the television series Jamestown or the HBO Max original series Raised by Wolves. And for my video game heads out there, you might also recognize him as the main character Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins. Now let's talk about some recommended reading. Bloodwynd is very difficult to recommend comics for because most of the comics he appears in, he's hardly in them. He's mostly a background character a lot of the times, or he's just standing around and occasionally does something or occasionally speaks, and that's just about it. So what I'm going to recommend is that you check out Justice League America number 61 and then follow it up to Justice League America number 88. Now, while these other issues I'm going to recommend aren't exactly important, I will say they are important if you want to know why Bloodwynd just mysteriously disappears from Justice League America, and that is going to be the issues Justice League International Volume 2 number 66 and Justice League Task Force Volume 1 number 13 and 14. Without these for context, Bloodwynd just mysteriously disappears and you wouldn't really have any idea as to why he's not around anymore. They don't necessarily feature him prominently, but he does have panels that pop up in those issues. I'd also recommend you check out Fate number 5, which Bloodwynd features pretty prominently in, and I would also recommend Hawkman Volume 3 number 5 and 6, where Bloodwynd isn't the focus of the story, but he does feature a lot in it. And if you're curious, you can also check out Justice League Quarterly number 15 for a decent recent helping of Bloodwynd. This character has been largely forgotten about by the DC Comics universe at large. Can this character be updated and brought into the mainstream DC Comics universe as we know it now? Yes, I definitely think he could. However, I don't think DC has the stones to do it, or even the wherewithal, or would even care to do it. But I think this character is a missed opportunity. He's a very powerful character. He is a very, I would even dare say, important character to have around the DC Comics universe, because as we know, the DC Comics universe, while it does tend to have just as much, if not in some cases more diversity than the Marvel Comics universe, they don't really tend to handle their black characters any better than Marvel does sometimes. And it's very rare that we have a character who has a very inherently black identity outside of characters like Green Lantern, John Stewart, or Joe Mullen. Very few characters actually have as strong of a black or African identity in DC Comics. Honestly, Vixen is probably the one with the most. And as I say that, even she isn't used very often. She's only recently begun to see more time in the DC Comics universe, and that is not very much at best. A character like Bloodwynd would be very important to have. Most of the black characters in the DC Comics universe that are characters who could stand up to the power levels of someone like, say, I don't know, a Superman, those characters are very few and far between. Like I said, I mentioned characters like John Stewart, Joe Mullen. There's also Black Lightning and characters like Vixen, but beyond that, most other black characters in the DC Comics universe tend to be rather forgettable. I want to make sure I'm clear when I say this, not because they're bad characters, it's just because they don't get used very often, or their stories aren't written particularly well. This is a character I could easily see standing shoulder to shoulder with other characters in the Magic Corner of DC Comics universe, like Dr. Fate or the Phantom Stranger, the Spectre, so on and so forth, but yet this guy's been in witness protection ever since the early 90s. Never to be seen or heard from again. That was a bit of a rant, but it was all a native saying that Bloodwynd is a cool character. I think he's somebody that should be brought back, and if he would be brought back, I would love to see how current comics readers respond to him. I definitely know the Comicsgate crowd wouldn't be fond of him, but I think that a lot of black and brown readers would appreciate him. But anyways, let me know what you think about the DC Comics character Bloodwynd. Have you always known about him, or are you today years old finding out about him? Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.